Today we're going to be talking about consciousness. I think it's a fascinating topic, whether it be natural consciousness or normal consciousness and altered states of consciousness. So what is this? Being, aware that we exist, aware of our sensations and our thoughts. This is consciousness. The famous psychologist William James, you might remember from early functionalism, said it's like a stream. We kind of flow from thought to sensation to, throughout time. I think the bigger question is, does it serve an important function? My guess is it does. It probably provides advantages to humans. The alternative to consciousness would be, animals that are strictly, their behavior is regulated by instinct and things like that. So, I think consciousness allows a great deal of flexibility and allows humans to plan. So I think it's extremely important. And there, other people have indicated that it may allow us to consolidate information in novel ways. And I think that's probably true. It binds our perceptual and mental processes into a single coherent whole. It certainly does that. Allows for flexibility in responding. I think that's the key for me. I really think that's one of the primary functions. There's the normal consciousness, and then there are a variety of altered states of consciousness. Some of these are debated, like hypnosis and meditation. Some people believe they're altered states and others don't. When you're sleeping or dreaming, I think you're definitely in an altered state. Drugs can induce altered states of consciousness, and we'll treat hypnosis and meditation as altered states as well. In the old days, before electroencephalogram, when people went to sleep, I think, other than the observation that at certain times maybe their eyes seemed to be kind of darting back and forth, it seemed like the brain was turned off. Now, that we're able to measure what's going on during sleep, you realize, oh my goodness, there's all kinds of brainwave activity that's unique and only seen sometimes during sleep. So when we're awake, there's a little indication of our brainwave activity near the top of that screen. As we begin to kind of fall asleep in stage one, this kind of hypnagogic stage, our brainwaves are slowing down a little bit. Then in stage two, a little bit later into our sleep, we're seeing a couple weird things. We're seeing these kind of sleep spindles, these kind of rapid fire brainwave activity. And then every now and then this kind of slow delta wave, K complex they call it. And then as we get into stage three, we're seeing these kind of big, slow delta waves. And stage four is really predominantly delta waves. That's almost all that we're seeing. And then at times, we go into something called rapid eye movement sleep. It's associated with dreaming. And again, it looks like that awake consciousness above. Interestingly, we go through a number of different sleep cycles every night that last about, maybe 90 minutes or so. The first part of the night is some of the deeper cycles, and in the later part of the night, we're sleeping lighter, but have these extended REM periods. And we do tend to kind of go through stages, stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and sometimes even backing out of those stages, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then REM, rather than waking up. Occasionally we may even wake up during the night. All of our sleep and our architecture changes over the lifespan. When we're first born, sleeping most of the day, 16 hours. By the time we're elderly, require much less sleep, maybe 6 hours or less, and it's usually not as high quality sleep. And then the rapid eye movement, for whatever reason, young children, huge percentage of their sleep, rapid eye movement. And then once we get a few years of age, it really decreases to about 20%, and kind of remains 20, 18, 20, for the rest of our life. Most of us report we're not getting enough sleep. And of course, if you ask people, how many hours you prefer, you see a great range, from 5 to 11 hours, or maybe even more. But most adults are saying that regardless of how much sleep they want, they're just not getting enough. And there are costs to that, One, not necessarily a cost, but it's interesting if we kind of pull an all-nighter one night, the next night, we're going to have a lot more REM sleep. They call this REM rebound. If you go a long, a number of period of time, or if we go without sleep for a long period of time, it's going to influence our ability to concentrate. It's going to influence our visual motor tasks, so we won't be as coordinated. Our mood will decline. Our body actually looks very stressed. You'll see this cortisol, and we won't be able to learn as well. I think we've all experienced this kind of stuff. People don't really know what the actual function of sleep. There's evolutionary theory that maybe argues that when we slept, particularly when it was dark, it maybe saved us from predators. Others that say it stores it has this restorative function. Our body is, in a sense, in a state where it's kind of repairing itself. Others say that it facilitates learning. Again, I don't think anybody really knows. It could be a combination of these. Almost everybody dreams, or at least experiences REM sleep. Many of us remember those dreams. We know that there are triggers for dreams, stuff that we see during the day oftentimes makes it into our dreams at night. We don't know what they mean. Freud and some of the early psychoanalytic people felt dreams were meaningful. Freud thought they were wish fulfillments, things that we somehow wished for. I've had dreams like that. Also had some pretty bad nightmares, which it's hard to view as a wish fulfillment. But the other thing that Freud thought is that these dreams were symbolic. So the manifest content, or these crazy images in our dreams, really were symbolic of some sort of latent content, or maybe even conflict that we have, sexual and aggressive drives. Now, there are other people, like the activation synthesis hypothesis, says dreams are pretty much random. We're consolidating information, kind of during the night, and our conscious, is trying to make sense of it, but really there's no rhyme or reason to it. And I ask you to think about your own dreams. We're going to have some journal entry, and I think discussion about it, but do you think they're meaningful? Do they communicate something or not? And what do they communicate if they are meaningful? As far as sleep is concerned, there's some neurochemistry associated with it. So there's neurons in the brain that secrete acetylcholine, and they tend to be inhibited when we're sleeping. And we know that certain chemicals that influence neurotransmitters, sleeping pills, or hormones like melatonin, can influence sleep. So sleep, there's definitely a biochemistry to sleep. And there are also rhythms to sleep. We have this suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is sort of like an internal clock. It looks like it runs closer to 25 hours than 24-hour days, but it gets reset usually every day because of the light. So this one gets reset by light. But if you were in total darkness, I think research shows your pattern would shift a little bit, and you would not be on a 24-hour cycle. And research shows that some people have periods at night. Some people at night, when they feel they're most productive and energetic and able to concentrate, these folks are referred to as owls. Others, larks, morning people. Many people report an afternoon energy dip, and some cultures even allow for a little nap there in the afternoon. We know that shift work, when we're kind of up, when it's dark, can be hard on the body. It takes a long time for people to adjust to it. There are a lot of ways that sleep can go wrong, cause problems for us. Night terrors, you see this in kids. It seems like they're having these terrible nightmares, but you can't wake them up. And then sometimes in the morning, they don't even remember that they had it. And of course, there's nightmares, which I think almost everybody has had. Common, ubiquitous, but not problematic unless we have these vivid, scary nightmares every night and interfere with sleep. Narcolepsy, some people, in response to emotions or other things, fall asleep immediately. They can't control it. Uncontrolled falling asleep, of course, can be very disruptive to their lives and work and personal relationships, or even driving in the car. Many of us have probably experienced insomnia, or difficulties falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up early, or not even being able to sleep. Again, this is pretty common, but if it happens chronically, it can really be a problem. Some people have sleep apnea, where they kind of stop breathing while they sleep. I believe that's because the esophagus or the trachea collapses while they're sleeping. It's on the rise. People who are obese are more likely, but so some people who don't have obesity that have sleep apnea. Now, switching gears, hypnosis is another topic of interest, where many argue it's an altered state of consciousness. Others, argue that maybe it's not. The definition is this kind of vivid, imagined experience and this sort of decreased awareness of the external environment. So if someone is hypnotized, they're not really paying attention to what's going on around them. In their inner life, they're able to imagine stuff. Typically they go through some sort of hypnotic induction where they enter into this trance state where kind of regular logic is reduced and their orientation towards kind of reality is reduced. And they're even susceptible to these post-hypnotic suggestions, where the idea when they come out of the trance, they may do something in response to a cue or a stimulus. Hypnotizability is real. Whatever it is real, but not everybody is easily hypnotized. And as you can see, it's not really a normal distribution, but some people are very hypnotizable, others not so hypnotizable, and a lot of us kind of in between. And again, it's interesting why some people would and others would not be hypnotizable. A variety of different theories. The people that kind of believe in trance theory say, oh no, it's definitely an altered state of consciousness. And people do, or they don't experience pain and stuff like that when they're in hypnosis. You wouldn't do that if you weren't in a trance. But other people say, no, not so fast. The sociocognitive theory says, no, this is more a response from people who are highly suggestible, and they respond in a way that they feel that a hypnotized subject should act. So again, not really a trance, but a different interpretation of that phenomenon. Evidence from neuroimaging shows that there may be some subtle changes in our consciousness, and certainly it's, for all the fun people have with it, it's also a clinical tool to help people reduce habits like eating and smoking, reduce stress, reduce their pain, their anxiety, all these things. So there's some legitimate uses for it. Meditation, too, is another one where people have argued that you can enter into an altered state of consciousness. A long history of religious meditation traditions, and also more recently secular traditions, mindful meditations. They're not really tied per se to religious or spiritual aims, but again, by practicing, people show a lot of benefits from this. They report reduced tension and anxiety, less stress, and I think associated with that, you have a lot of positive physiological changes. If you have less tension, anxiety, and stress, you can have lower blood pressure, your immune system, your ability to fight off infections can be better. Whether meditation is anything different than just getting your body back to a state of relaxation, again, there's some debate there, but again, I think there's some evidence that maybe it's an altered state, but maybe it's really no different than relaxation. So, fascinating topic. I look forward to reading people's journal entries and everything else, discussion postings about it. See you later. Bye.